Let's make history. So the New York City subway system just turned 120 years old. And in all that time in existence, there's been some good and there's been some bad. Way more bad than good, but we're gonna talk about both. So make sure you watch to the end. And like Tupac said in Hail Mary, follow me. I'm at the Brooklyn Bridge station in Lower Manhattan, the Civic Center area where all the courts are. And we're gonna take a look at the train station, which no longer exists. It was called City Hall Loop, and it was the first and last stop when the subway first opened back in 1904. And as the train cars began to evolve and the technology improved, they made them longer. And when they made the trains more cars, the platform at this station, the way it was built, wasn't able to accommodate that. So they shut it down. Very ornate station. It was a big deal at the time, but they closed it down. It functioned as a museum for some time. People were able to go down there and look around, but after 9/11, they stopped doing that for security reasons. Now the only way to access this station, which is abandoned, is to get on a 6 train that's pulling up right here alongside me, and they're gonna tell everybody to get off the train. Watch. Last stop. But what happens is you have to stay on. It's just gonna loop around to the uptown side across the track, and that's how we'll be able to see it. There it is. That's the station in real time. You can see the vaulted ceilings.
One would be shocked to hear. In 1932, the subway system was attempting to explain their 27 lines with only 3 colors.
Back in the first half of the 20th century, there were 3 companies running the subway, and all the maps had 3 colors. But in 1967, they built a 2-mile tunnel under Chinatown that linked 2 of those networks, and they then had a problem. At that point, the old 3-color scheme wouldn't work, and something was needed new.
Almost by accident, I came across this short article in the New York Daily News that the New York City Transit Authority was sponsoring a contest to design a new subway map. And I said, oh my gosh, you know, I've always been interested in cartography, and I know the New York City subway system like the back of my hand, and so I decided to give it a shot. My name is Raleigh D'Adamo. I'm a lawyer by profession. I was practicing law until I entered the contest sponsored by the New York City Transit Authority, and I'm the chap that brought the colors to the map of the New York City transit system. The rules of the contest required that the map run from Midtown Manhattan to downtown Brooklyn, just a small part of the city. But for my idea to really be understood, I had to draw the whole system from the Bronx all the way down to the Rockaways. To explain it, I wrote a 19-page report comparing New York City system with other systems like London and Paris, which used a lot of colors. It's clear that the maps of the New York City subway system are using too few colors to do too much work. And that was the operative phrase that caught their attention.
So once Raleigh was done, we had a color for each subway line, which meant we were using over 20 colors on the map. But today, we have only 10 colors representing every line.
Lexington Avenue has got 3 routes running down it, the 4, 5 and 6. Now back in the 60s and 70s, each of those routes had its own color. John Tornek's idea was to paint those 3 routes the same color, and that meant he could draw a single line instead of 3 lines, saving space.
I've been riding the subway all my life, but then you get melancholy because you think of all the children this year alone that have died while subway surfing. So my heart first off goes out to the family. You can check out my videos to get the details of some of those situations. Very tragic, but it's important that we encourage other children and teenagers who are interested in doing this, that we dissuade them from even thinking about possibly wasting their lives. 2 girls, 112, 113, they fell off the train while subway surfing. One of them died. The other one's still in critical condition in the hospital with a fractured skull. I'm hoping she pulls through. When I was a child, adolescent, juvenile, around 12, 13, me and my friends, we used to ride on the back of the train. On the back of the train cars, there's like handles there and a little small ledge. Sometimes I used to even sit down, dangling my legs as the train was in motion. Dangerous stuff. The subway system is like a web. It's like a labyrinth in some sense. All the different tunnels, all the different compartments and rooms down in the subway station. You never know what you're gonna get. And that's how some of these children die while subway surfing, because they're having a blast, and next thing you know, the train is going so fast they don't see an oncoming beam, and they usually collide with that beam, and then, you know, it's over. During my junior high school years, I got heavily involved in the graffiti movement, and me and one of my friends who lived in my building, Brat, shout out to Brat, I know he's on TikTok. We have to get up soon. Love you, bro. There was an abandoned train station on the 1, 2, and 3 line. All right, on the 1, 2, and 3 line between 86th Street and 96th Street. And in the world of graffiti, we used to refer to it as Ghost Town. And the graffiti artists, graffiti writers didn't go down there to do elaborate murals like they would do above ground. They would do what you call throw-ups. A throw-up is basically writing your name writing your name bigger as you possibly can in a bubble at a simple format, and a function of that is when people are driving by, or in this case on the train, is going so fast they'll still be able to read it. So that's why they wouldn't go down there. And you rarely see like an actual, what you call a piece, an elaborate graffiti artwork, art piece, you know, down there. So we went down there. You would have to go to 96th Street and just walk along the catwalk in the tunnels, and eventually you will bump into it. And I won't lie, it was amazing. Not more so like a cheap thrill, but more so like, wow, it was like a whole underground world just dedicated to graffiti writers. No one was around, so you didn't really have to worry about, you know, police arresting you, because nobody was really down there like that. So it was one of my experiences, one of my most memorable experiences riding and dealing with the NYC Subway since as far back as I can remember. That also leads me to one of the best books I've ever read. One of my favorite nonfiction books is a book called The Mole People. And it's about really the shelter system in New York City is so horrifying and revolting and predatory. You can get robbed or even raped in the shelter system. Some people would even say it's on a par with jail, or sometimes it could be even worse, because a lot of people in the homeless system are psychotic, whereas in jail, they're really just deviant in most cases. So the shelter system was so bad in the 70s and 80s and 90s that rather than go to the shelter, homeless people say, you know what, I'm gonna just try my luck, sleeping in the train, sleeping out on the streets, sleeping in the parks. But that can be dangerous too. So what they did was they formed small communities, and they would go and venture off down into the bowels of the subway system and find little rooms where these rooms were for the purpose of when people who are working on the tracks, they could have lunch there, they could store their tools there. Some of them were defunct. And the same thing with tunnels. They are also there's a lattice work of tunnels in the NYC subway system, some of which are not even in use. Some were used like back in the day for just an emergency for the president. You know, if he needed to if the president needed to make a quick getaway, if some danger appeared. So some of these tunnels were used for that. In some places in New York City, like below Grand Central Station, it goes down about 7 to 13 stories. So the mole people, quote unquote, what they started to call them, they would venture all through there and set up little communities. Fascinating stuff, the level that humanity could rise to and fall to.
It smells so bad. Oh shit. I can't take it.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
Seriously, I feel like I'm gonna gag. The whole car smells like pee. Oh, this is so bad. I gotta get out next stop.
One thing about the NYC subway system that has always been common is train dancers. You have these teenagers, mostly, sometimes adults, they come on and do dance performances. They're like swinging off the poles, and they take their hat and flip it up in the air and then land on their head while they're like, you know, just doing some dance move. Impressive stuff. However, I will say, lately it has become redundant. These kids, other kids are finding out about this hustle, and anybody that has halfway dance skills are attempting to do this, and they're really rehashing the same moves over and over. So I would say, you know, it's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful feature of the subway system, but let's step our game up, fellas. And now, aside from that, you see on the train all of the illegal migrants who have flooded into New York City thanks to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris. You have a lot of the migrants selling churros and candy and batteries, all sorts of trinkets on the train. Sometimes they have their children with them. So that's the situation of the New York City subway right now. It's changed, but in a lot of ways it still has stayed the same.
If you can believe it, the New York City subway system is celebrating its 120th anniversary this Sunday, and we are taking a close look at how it was built, its impact across the city, and solutions to expand it.
Stand clear of the closing doors, please.
New Yorkers will tell you their city's heart does not beat without its subway trains.
They've changed lives. They make relationships. They make romance.
They don't humble people. If you think you're better than somebody else, get on the train.
Whether you love it or see room for improvement, it's an engineering marvel. The IRT, a private train company, had formed. And on October 27, 1904, the NYC subway opened to the public.
That first line was parts of what is the 456 of today and the 123 of today. So the original subway line went from Old City Hall Station up to 42nd Street, went across Manhattan and up to 145th Street.
And the price to hop on board was just a nickel. The IRT's success created competition from the Brooklyn Manhattan Transit Corporation, also known as the BMT, in 1923, and the Independent Subway System, or IND, in 1932. In 2023, subway ridership increased to 1.15 billion. The cars themselves, known as rolling stock, are another makeup of the subway's identity, from the standard low Vs to the iconic Redbirds. I'm told designers had to keep in mind efficiency, capacity, and speed.
The IRT, when it was open, prided themselves on speed. You can get from City Hall to Harlem in 15 minutes.
It's always been described as the great equalizer.
I think it's fair to say that when you do things in New York City, the over-under that it's going to become iconic is actually pretty high.
The system has now grown to include 472 stations, more than 6,000 cars, and over 800 track miles, according to the MTA. Those rails pieced together, experts say, would stretch to Chicago. A lot has advanced in this aging system. Most notably, the 7 train was extended to 34th Street in 2015. And just 2 years later, Phase 1 of the 2nd Avenue Subway became a reality, extending the queue to the Upper East Side.
The New York City subway system there's so many words to describe it. My favorite part about the system is the trains, of course. Oh my, these machines.
And that machine has been running for 120 years, and it might give some perspective on why modernizing it is not so cut and dry.
If you have any fascinating subway stories, leave them in the comments. And if you've never ridden on the NYC Subway, come take a ride. Leave your thoughts in the comments. Don't forget to hit that like button. Subscribe to WillFloresTV on YouTube. Follow me on Instagram, TikTok, and X.